This is Rostra, the St. Theodore Guerin Junior Classical League podcast, where we bring the lessons of classical study into the light for the benefit of all. Welcome back to another of our preseason episodes of Rostra. One of the reasons that people so commonly like to take Latin is because they've heard that there's a great influence of Latin on English, that it really helps with vocabulary and understanding English words, and that is true. Depending on the research you look at, some 60% or more of the English language is rooted in Latin. And so understanding Latin words, how they work, and their meanings can really improve your vocabulary. Take, for example, why is it that portable is spelled with an A-B-L-E, but the word legible is spelled with an I-B-L-E? It's easy to get those confused, and people will sometimes, well, how can I keep that straight? Well, one of the reasons is because of the verbs that they come from in Latin. Portable comes from a first conjugation verb, which has an A in it, portare, meaning to carry. But legible comes from a third conjugation verb, legere, meaning to read. And because of the difference in conjugation in Latin and the main vowel that is used, that comes into English as a different vowel, A-B-L-E or I-B-L-E. And so knowing the Latin can help you remember things with spelling. But then take something like maybe a compound word like maleficent, certainly a popular Disney character these days, but where does that word come from? Well, it comes from the word malus, meaning bad, and then the fic part actually comes from a word that's spelled F-A-C-E-R-E, facere, meaning to do or to make. So literally maleficent is related to the doing or making of something that is bad. And then there's also really just looking at sometimes deep into a word. For example, a very common Latin word, ago, agere, egi, actus. If you look this word up in the dictionary, it has 4 dictionary entries, or what we like to call principal parts, and it means to do. Well, the first couple of entries in the dictionary begin with ag, and that gives us a word like agenda, which is a list of things to do. But then the last dictionary entry, or last principal part, is actus, A-C-T-U-S, and it gives us a word like action, which obviously involves doing something. And coming back to that word agenda for a moment, again getting into Latin grammar, you realize that the NDA suffix there is part of something called a future passive participle or a gerundive. And so literally an agenda is something to be done, which of course is how we use the word today. And then we have words like mitto, mittera, misi, missus. Well, from the first 2 dictionary entries from mitto and mittera, we get words like transmit and commit. Because mitto means to send. So to transmit something is to send something across, perhaps across the airwaves or across the internet. But then from the last part, missus, M-I-S-S-U-S, we get words like mission. And so if you have a mission to accomplish something, that's something that you have been sent to do. Or an older term for a letter is a missive, M-I-S-S-I-V-E, because a letter is something that is sent. And that really also brings up a good reason, another reason to study Latin for the sake of vocabulary. We don't always just read things that were written yesterday. As people go off to college or explore other literature or history or scientific works, they're going to be reading things that were written maybe 50 years ago, 100 years ago or more. And words change in their usage. Sometimes words fall out of usage altogether. And so you may be reading something where there's a word you've never seen before. But by knowing the Latin, you might be able to figure it out. And I have to tell a story here that really puts a little bit of egg on my face and really points out the how sharp my wife is. Years ago, I was reading a biography of Alexander the Great, and I was reading it at home in the evening, and I came across a word that I did not know, tergiversation. And I said to my wife, I said, do you have any idea what this word tergiversation might mean? Tergiversation. And she said, well, I imagine it has something to do with turning your back. And I looked at her and I realized instantly, of course, she was right. Tergum is the Latin word for back, and verto, vertere, verti, versus is the Latin word for to turn. And a tergiversation is a particular military move where an army advances and then turns around and retreats. But she was able to pick that up right away because of her knowledge of Latin. So it will certainly help you, whether you're reading biographies of Alexander the Great, preparing for the SAT, or just becoming more fluent in English. Thank you for listening to Rostra. You may check out all our episodes on Spotify and follow us on social media at GarinJCL. That's at GUERINJCL.